replay, and if you are, hi, I'm Tricia, and I am just making a commitment to Spirit right now to speak today to everyone about what I have been receiving. And I am constantly receiving messages from Spirit about particular topics, and it's all to do with my own growth, but we're all one, so it's to do with all our growth. And the first things that I'm continue to hear about, learn about, and then also teach about, and by the way, it's all the same thing. In teaching, we are learning because it's all just channeling. Empaths and highly sensitive people. Here's the deal, folks. I particularly have a part of my ministry or mission or life purpose, at this point at least, is to help and address empaths and highly sensitive people, because I'm both of those kind of people. I actually sometimes hear spiritual people or teachers or whatever say that there's no such thing as an empath or blah, blah, blah. And I don't really care if that's your perspective. That's totally fine. And I don't argue with you. But I do have a very specific feeling about an experience about those two kinds of categories. And the only reason we have categories and we have labels, they're just basically like laws or rules. And the only reason we have those is because they're signposts and they're guideposts, and they actually give us a sense of safety as we're moving through this life. And we're not meant to overly focus on them at all. It's just a tool. We should never over focus on a tool. Sometimes we have to put tools down in order for us to be our actual selves. But here's the thing. So highly sensitive people, you have very sensitive nervous systems. You have, you're very sensitive to moods, and you're very sensitive to the energy, the energetic atmosphere, the emotional atmosphere, the mental, the non-physical content, the vibration. And I don't know if I've ever met an empath who wasn't also a highly sensitive person. Maybe that's possible. Anything is possible. But empath is sort of like all of those things, plus this addition of having a mechanism in which they feel other people's emotions and thoughts as though they are their own. So the slight distinction there is that a highly sensitive person is going to go out into the world or be in the world and may feel those lower vibrations and feel really sick and unwell about them. Sure, but the distinction is an empath is out there in the world and actually can't tell that, their best friend is having a breakup, whether they know about it or not, and then suddenly they have feelings that they need to be concerned about their own romantic life, or just their own safety in a really important relationship, or just their own safety in the world. Whatever their friend is feeling, they feel it themselves, and they don't realize that it's not their emotion, that it's not their genuine feeling, their genuine thoughts, because thoughts create feelings and feelings create thoughts. So there is a distinction there. And the thing above all, to also realize, like I said, we have to put down tools, or we put down labels sometimes, because lest we over-identify with them. Because over-identifying with something that isn't us is simply not being ourselves, not being our genuine selves. It's trying to be something. It's depending on duality too much. So I'm just making sure my thing stays charged. So the problem with over-identifying with your sensitivity, or having this mechanism unchecked or unconsciously functioning, then you just become a victim of this that is supposed to be an ability, that's supposed to be a superpower. So it is really important, if you're an empath or if you're a highly sensitive person, or both, that you get healthy, that you get skills. And it's really important that you know this about yourself, because the reason that you are this, you chose this before you even came into this plane, is because you wanted to be sensitive to vibrations. Why? Because the highest vibration of this universe is love. And so you wanted to remember, so if it's the highest vibration, that means it's the loudest, it's the brightest, it's the smelliest, it's the biggest. And so no one actually mistakes where love is. No one ever does, whether they want to be truthful about it or not. It's just the fact. But serious question, what does it mean if I see kids running on sidewalks and I get pain? Darling, that means you're an empath. You see kids running on sidewalks and you get pain. Are the kids in pain? That if the kids are in pain, it means that you're getting in my knees. So I think that you're referring, that pain is being referred into your body. The other thing it could mean is that this is a question from Periscope. It could mean that you are referencing an event in your own life. Okay, this is a reading right now, which isn't what I knew I was going to do, but this is what we're doing. Darling, you are both an empath, but what is happening here is you're actually referencing something that happened that you're meant to be able to heal. So there was something in your past when you were a child and somehow you were harmed. It's an association thing. This is something in your shadow, a wound that is asking to be healed, but you are referencing that by feeling the activity of the children. So it's something to look into, sweetheart. It's going to be a key to a real opening. Okay, I didn't see your name, sorry. Back to the message about empaths and highly sensitive people. The reason that you came into this plane as highly sensitive or an empath is because you wanted to remember where love is at all times. You wanted to chronicle where love is. You wanted to champion love. And to do that, you have to be strong. And you have to be able to tell your vibration, your own insides from other people's insides. And so basically we can treat very similar skills, teach very similar skills to empaths and highly sensitive people. And then we might just specify a little bit as we go one way or the other. So it's really important that the reason that you have this is so that you can be a superhuman, because you are a superhuman and you're just remembering it. You're not actually, you're a super soul. You've come from another place and you're here to be a super soul to help this planet to ascend. And that's the next thing I want to talk about is animals and nature. Just know that there is consciousness in absolutely everything, because where there is energy, there is information. That's science. And everything is composed of energy. So what is information? Basically is consciousness. So yes, this piece of paper has consciousness. You could actually psychically connect with it and receive a message and receive some kind of purpose or some kind of, I'm not saying that everything is human-like and has the same kind of experience that a human has, but there is information there and there is experience and there's consciousness. And the reason I bring this up is because it's been coming up a lot. I'm an animal communicator, and so people are constantly, the very sensitive people, we have this thing about animal suffering. And one thing I want to tell you about animal suffering is that animals are complete beings on their own. So it is challenging, and we do dominate animals, we do dominate nature, and we do need to be very conscious of that and raise the consciousness about how animals and nature are treated. But we also, as sensitive people, need to raise our consciousness about it. We need to recognize that they are full beings. And so if they die, they are fully aware of this happening. They aren't as much victims as we think that they are. We do victimize them, but they aren't as much completely victimized as we think that they are. So know that they're whole conscious beings. And so are plants, by the way. And the reason I bring this up is because the whole topic of diet, and honestly, diet makes no difference, because everyone's diet is so personal to them and they need to be able to figure that out on their own. But it is important for us to really understand the full, as much as possible, perspective of animals and elements of nature, so that we can bring consciousness to how we deal with animals, how we deal with nature, how we deal with plants and foods, and trees, and the earth. We need to be able to have a full understanding of it, rather than objectifying them, and is in our love of them, not really fully embracing their perspective. We actually have a tendency to objectify it and just think of them as helpless little victims, and that's really just us reflecting from that overly sensitive state. Overly sensitive isn't exactly the right language, because as you become more skilled with your sensitivity and it's being used as a superpower, then you actually become more sensitive and more open. But when we are being victimized by our sensitivity, when we are not skillfully managing it, then we are in victimhood. So it's time to just be willing to rise up out of victimhood, whether we see others as victims like animals in nature, or we see ourselves as victims. That's not, seeing another person as a victim isn't the way that we're going to help them. We need to rise above that a bit, and we need to try to assist them and not rescue them, because rescue is an imbalanced effort. Assist and belief in their beingness and their divinity is a powerful way to help another, or unify, or bring up the consciousness of the entire planet of Gaia. So I think that's about where we're ending. And please leave comments. I'm going to probably post this on my YouTube channel, so you can find me by looking up Tricia Carr Charm. And leave me a comment here. And I'm going to start posting more videos live as I'm being called to by Spirit. I started this at 3:33, although I went broadcast a little after that. So I might be following that message at 11:11, 2:22, or 3:33 as I'm guided. And I'll probably post the videos up. And please reach out on any of my media or email me at triciacarcharm@gmail.com. I love you all. I love you, whoever you are.